Shabbat shalom, everyone. I hope that everyone had a chance, an opportunity to listen to Rabbi Starr's sermon last week. And if you haven't, I encourage you after Shabbat, of course, to head to our YouTube page and to give it a listen, because it was a powerful analysis of an en vogue term that deserves that analysis: wokeness, being woke. I want to challenge one piece of context in this conversation, because I think it's important for us as Jews. Rabbi Starr last week accurately pointed out that the term, as we know it in this modern parlance of wokeness, comes from Ferguson, from the aftermath of the death of Michael Brown and the protest that followed, and was used to remind protesters to stay vigilant, to keep their eyes open for police misconduct. And from there, it has snowballed to mean a kind of ethical, moral, and just awareness, to have our eyes open to the pain and suffering in this world. And for sure, without a doubt, it has also become a way to pat ourselves on the back, to give credit to ourselves for being woke. But where I want to add one little caveat is that I think that for us as Jews, this term showed up in Judaism a long, long time ago, but we've kept it to ourselves because we don't know what to do with it. Not in any kind of selfish or protective way have we held on to this. We just don't know what to do with it because, as Rabbi Starr pointed out last week, it's complicated. It's not black and white. It requires navigation that is impossible to explore alone without the help of community, without the help of a village, without the help of family. And we've kept it to ourselves because we've spent hundreds, if not thousands of years trying to figure it out. Because long before it was a label of progressive ethics, the label of being woke, according to the Rambam, Moshe Maimonides, is a term that is used to translate a famous piece of Torah, a piece of Torah that we are all familiar with, that we hear numerous times throughout the year, a piece of Torah that goes like this: Tekiah, Teruah, Shvarim, Tekiah Gedolah. The blast of the shofar, according to the Rambam, is not a series of random calls. It is a message of urgency, one that he beautifully translates as "Awake, awake, you sleepers from your slumber, search your deeds and do tshuva." Or, in modern parlance, holy Jews, get woke. But this wokeness is different from the one that we're used to hearing, because it doesn't stem from political knowledge. It has no interest in our understanding of history, political economic systems. It doesn't care which blogs we read, which activists we follow, who we vote for, or how many times we've taken to the streets and marched for the cause. It doesn't care. Because, and this is so incredibly Jewish, the blast of the shofar doesn't assume, it doesn't imply, it knows that none of us are woke. That's very Jewish. None of us are woke. All of us are sleeping. And that our waking up, before it can be ethical, moral, or justice-driven, has to first be spiritual. I need to say that one more time because I think it's really important. According to the Rambam, according to Maimonides, before our wokeness, before we can wake to anything that is ethical, moral, or justice-driven, we first have to awaken ourselves spiritually. Tonight marks the most important date in the Jewish calendar. We don't really like superlatives in Judaism, but I'm going to use one anyway. Tonight is the most important date in the Jewish calendar. More important than Rosh Hashanah, more important than Yom Kippur, because tonight, as we count 3 stars in the sky and we sing Ya'aleh V'Yavo for Rosh Chodesh Elul, the mystics tell us that the divine leaves the palace and comes out into the field to meet us where we are. Any way we are, anywhere we are, anybody we are. And in stark contrast to the shades of gray that come with most Jewish theology, our decision here is one that is truly black and white. We either wake up or we stay sleeping. And if we wake up when the shofar blasts and tells us to wake up, we become woke to the recognition that God is out in the field with us, not to judge us, not to condemn us, but to push us to understand, to truly understand, to feel in our bones just how important we are to this world. Each of us, every single one of us, to open our eyes to the fact that God needs us to be the ones who help fulfill the acts of creation by treating this world of ours and all the glory within it like the precious and fragile treasures that they are. If we wake up when we're supposed to wake up, if we notice, if we pay attention, if we internalize that cosmic truth, then everything else falls into place. Because tshuva isn't about earning a badge to put on our progressive shirt sleeves. It's about humility. A humility that literally forces us to prostrate ourselves on the ground before the splendor of all we don't know, and to say, I am but dust and ashes. But as dust and ashes, in this moment, I pledge to make my life one that touches and betters the lives of others. Because no matter who they are, no matter where they are, they too carry a spark of the divine. When we get woke from the shofar, we don't seek to be commended, to be celebrated for doing good. When we get woke from the shofar, we seek only to understand that we are all connected, that we are all standing in this field together, and that there is not a tear that runs down a cheek or a cry of pain that does not in some way affect us. And in that sense, getting woke in the Jewish context is inherently inclusive, because it forces us to do the most difficult thing that we can do as human beings and admit that that us as individuals, that us as a community, that us as a people, that us as a universe are flawed and deeply flawed. And so the judgment that we so often carry within ourselves, that judgment that seeks to categorize everyone as a good person or a bad person, is a lie. In the Jewish context, that doesn't work. The real test is not who we are, because we know who we are. We are sparks of the divine. But here's the test. It's rather what we choose to do with that divine spark, what we choose to do with the knowledge that God wants us to create, to build, to nurture together, united with love, with understanding. And in that sense, the choice is superficially simple, but incredibly challenging in its essence. We either act to unify, to bring us all closer to one another, without any caveats or exceptions, or we do nothing. And if we do nothing, then in our absence of action, we divide, we isolate, we alienate, and we focus on ourselves. The rest, as Hillel said, is commentary. And so tonight, on the most important day of the Jewish calendar, we get to make that choice. Because all of us, every single one of us, is sleeping. With the blast of the shofar, we can stay just as we are. We can sit out our role in this cosmic story, or we can hear the translation of Tekiah, Shavarim, Truah, that we are meant to be one united body of creation. And that if we live our lives with that truth, then all the rest, all the goodness, all the kindness, the selflessness, the compassion will flow naturally and authentically back to the source of it all. The palace doors are opening. The horns of Israel are crying out. Now it's up to us. Awake, awake, you sleepers. Meloch la'aretz kavodo, all existence is filled with God's glory. It's time to understand. It's time to return. As the Rambam says, it's time to get woke. Shabbat shalom.